Okay, hello. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. We'll wait a little bit to get more people rolling in because we actually do have a full house today. So just let me know that you can hear and see me. That would be awesome. Good morning, Gita. How are you? Hello. Looks and sounds great. Thank you, Jessica. Good morning. Thank you so much. Can't see me. Debbie can't see me. Debbie, you can hear me. Hello, Trudy. If Please check your settings for your camera. If you can't see me, it just could be your setting. Okay. I've got 25 students watching. Hi, Susan. Oh, okay. Susan, please reach out to me after the webinar. Let me know how it went with the students, how they enjoyed it. I really appreciating you getting on here with your school and the students. Thank you, Susan, for that. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. So we'll wait a couple minutes. I'd like to see all your greetings. Hello, Maria, listening in from sunny San Diego, California. Ooh, it is sunny here too, so I'm not too jealous. It's we've had some warmer days, but welcome from San Diego and hello everybody. Let us know where you are from. BC, we got people from BC and I am in Canada, Ontario, Toronto, or specifically Richmond Hill is our office. Yes, we will record. Hello. Sorry if I missed. Hi, Jessica. If I've missed anybody, all the comments are going by too fast. So sorry if I caught some of you and I didn't catch some other ones of you from Philly, San Francisco. We have 12 aesthetic students. Oop, I lost that too. Any schools here as well? Like I just saw there was somebody else from a school. This is amazing. Schools are always welcome to be coming on. And please let me know afterwards how it was, anything we can do to help the schools well, because I do work closely with schools. So thank you for being on here. Good morning, Olga. As you can kind of hear, I am a little bit under the weather. Oh, Modern College. Welcome, Charlene. School instructors, no students today. That's okay. School instructors are also really welcomed because it helps you to share these tips in your curriculum when you're teaching these. So that's awesome. A lot of institutes I just saw go up. Thank you so much. Please reach out to me afterwards so I can see how it went and how you enjoyed it. I am a little bit under the weather, as you can hear, but I really did not want to cancel this webinar because it is an important webinar. It is a very tips and tricks webinar. A lot of things that I've also established with all the demos that I do. I do so many, like hundreds and hundreds a year. So I've come up with a lot more tips and tricks to help you guys. Representing Douglas J. Avita Institute. Oh, wow. Welcome. Lots of schools in today. It makes me very exciting, but also to the rest of you professionals who have been supporting. It's exciting to have you as well on here. From Independent Spa Owner and West Coast Beauty. Welcome, Charlene. Welcome. And if I'm talking a little bit loud, I am sorry. When you're sick and congested, it's not ideal to fly. It does a number on your ears. So I might be speaking a little bit louder. So sorry about that. Maybe you might need to work your volume. But I feel very far away, so I can't really hear. So I'm going to be a little bit loud, so you might have to control your volume. But I do appreciate everybody being here. We are looking at close to 200, almost 200 people. So I know there'll probably be a lot of questions, which is fine. Please ask those questions. This is your opportunity today. There will not be a live demo, but there'll be a recorded part of a demonstration I've done, a really good intense Browns demonstration to show you guys with the tips. Thank you, Maria. Thank you. Awesome. So on that note, let's give your shout out still until I see that I have my PowerPoint ready. It might not have, give me 1 second. It might not have loaded. It's a big PowerPoint, but just give me 1 second. Hello, everyone. We've got a good one today. So let me just check my files to see that okay, so it didn't load. So while I try again and I load it, If it doesn't work as a PDF on here, I'm going to have to just share the screen and show it as a PowerPoint, but it should load. I'm going to do a little bit of introduction because I do want to do, while that's loading, a little bit of a survey. Who is new, totally new at Intense Browns? Kendra, yes, there will be a replay. All of our webinars get uploaded onto our website. Okay, so no worries. But today's your opportunity to be here live and get to ask anything that you might have issues with the Intense Browse, because we are perfecting those skills today. So there's some new ones. Okay, this is really good because I will go over a little bit of the service, what it is, so that you who are new know about what Intense Browse is. But those who are you've used it, might have some issues with it, this is also a great webinar for you, because now you're able to take these tips, go back, introduce these tips to your service, and make sure that now you're going to make sure that your results are going to come as they should. Okay, so it's great for both new and the ones that are using it. Hello from Cuba. Ooh, welcome from Cuba. We were canceled to come home to Nova Scotia. Is this going to replay? Yes, it is, Donna. It's going to be recorded and it's going to be on our website. Okay, perfect. So there's a lot of new people. So that's awesome. And for the ones that are, just to get an idea, the ones that have used Intense Browns, just a raise of a hand. I don't think it's a bad thing to know how many of you have struggled with it, because it is a staining technique. So how many of you might have struggled a little bit with getting those results? I'd like to know. That honesty helps me. Hello from Haiti. Welcome, Anne. Pleasure to have you. Let me know as well if you've had any technique issues. Okay, so we've got some that are telling me, does Intense Browns have the same profitability as a regular tint? No, the profitability will be higher because your charge of what you're charging is higher. Because it is a very artistic skill of a service. Your oxidative tints, very quick. You can be done in 10 minutes. This can take between 30 to 40 minutes to complete, plus your brow mapping, plus you're also giving somebody who didn't have a brow because they didn't want to do a more invasive service. So I see there's a lot saying I struggle with blending for lighter hair. Okay, that's good because I have that tip in here. I have some who say they struggle with the staining. Perfect, because that's exactly, when I started first with the Intense Browns, that's exactly what I went through. And with so many demonstrations, so many different people I worked on, I've been able to get these tips together to help you guys. Okay, so great to hear that you're on here because it's going to help. The PowerPoint is on here, which is great. We're on a good start. Everybody can hear and see me. As a tip, if there's any issues with you can't see or hear me, please refresh your page, or you might just have to exit and come back in. Okay, so and then it should work. And if anything happens, loss of internet with you guys, like your own internet get lost, there is recording, so don't worry about it. Okay, but we hope nothing like that happens and you're able to watch till the end. Will there be a profitability chart posted on the website? We do have those on the website for you to download. Also in the thank you email, you will get that profitability. Okay, how do I adjust the level of color? Are you talking about the screen? Or as we get into the service, how do I adjust the level of color? We're going to start going into the PowerPoint. I want to have about 5 slides that are going to help the people that are new with Intense Browns, and then we're going to get into the actual, the meat of what is it that we can do to perfect our skills. Okay, so on that note, I'll do a quick introduction. If for the ones that are new or have not been to my webinars before, my name is Chrissy. I am the lead trainer of Quran Lab North America, and it is my passion to be here to do these webinars to help you guys utilize the complete brand of Reflectisil properly and effectively to be able to give your clients those wow lashes and brows. So today we're going to focus mostly on the brows with our Intense Brown system. Okay, so yes, it is the only FDA exactly compliant tinting system in the US, and especially if you are in California, New York, New Jersey, kind of those states that are a little bit on the extra stricter side, and you might get also fined. So this is the tint that you'd want to have showing in your salon and spa and be using, and as well the schools. Okay. We'll talk about that, Melissa, in the PowerPoint. Okay. So let's just go a little bit briefly to understand what this system is, what makes it different from the oxidative. There will be a lot of you on here that have been practitioners from years, right? Maybe 15, 20 years, and you know Reflectisol because Reflectisol has been around for over 90 years, and you know the oxidative tinting very well. But now it is trying to see why is this new system going to help me? How is this new system going to help me in my salon, spa, and so forth for my clients? Do you do in-person classes perhaps in Arizona? Lily, if there is a distributor in that area, we work with them and we try to get them to host classes. You can always email me. I will put at the end of the PowerPoint an email to reach out if you have any more further educational questions. We're always here to answer. We will never not answer. So if we miss anything, you have that email as well to reach out. Okay. Van, just give me 1 second. Let me see if I could just reply to Van. Please check your volume setting or exit and come back in. Okay, I just want to send that to them. Okay, so the intense browns, as we mentioned, for those who are in the US, it is a FDA compliant tinting system. Now in Canada, it doesn't affect us in that way because we're okay to use our oxidative tintings, but it's going to help you with your customers in the effect of the staining, because the oxidative tints do not stain the skin. So you're going to want to utilize this and bring it into your salon to help those clients that are missing patches of their hairs on their brows, losing portions of their brow. Sometimes a lot of people start to lose the portion of their brow from the arch to the tail end as they mature, or even from the beginning. So that's the way you're going to introduce the system for those type of clientele. In the US, same thing. You're going to use it mainly as your tinting because it is FDA compliant, but you're also going to be helping those clientele that need that staining. Okay, it is FDA it is a hybrid vegan tint, so it is vegan and plant-based. So if you have so when we say hybrid, it's going to stain the skin color of the hair. So if you have customers that were allergic to the oxidative and they were not able to achieve a tinting that can last a couple of days, they have to use pencils every day. Now you have a system that could help that clientele. Okay. It lasts 8 to 10 days on the skin. Be very mindful how you tell clients. You know, we don't want to over exaggerate. We want to be very, very honest with the durability, the lasting, because it also depends on their skin type. So when we say 8 to 10 days on the skin, then it varies if their skin is oily or dry, and what they do at home in the aftercare. We have from Jessica, I thought I was using Reflectisol, but apparently we're using hair plural. Glad I'm here to learn this product. We're looking for something that stains the skin. Awesome. So you came to the right place, Jessica. So it's great to hear that. So welcome. Thank you so much. So same thing. It stains the skin 8 to 10 days, 4 to 6 weeks on the hair, which varies on the client's skin type. More oil, it tends to break it down. I always teach people, like, you know, do you remember the blotting sheets? They were very big years ago. They can still be a great way for a client to carry these in their purse, especially if we're reaching into the summer season, to blot the oil before it reaches your brows. So I'm finding all these little tips and tricks that are helping even for your clients at home, right? So, but it also depends on their aftercare, what they do as well. So if you share the proper aftercare, which we're going to go through that in a slide, then you know it's after left into their own hands. And if they are working with what you told them, they could have a good week of skin staining, a good week of not filling in their brows. Can you imagine that? Like, as I'm getting older, my brows are thinning a lot. Like, I had a unibrow all through high school, very luscious big brows, but they're thinning as I get older, sadly. So I don't like filling them in every day. Like I'm busy, so I don't really have that time. So the Intense Browns has come at a good time to also help that I can get a full week of not having to worry to fill in my brows, and then I can touch them up with the pencils that we have in the meantime. Okay, so as you can see in this slide, it's dermatologically, ophthalmologically tested, easy application. When we say easy application, there's no mixing, there's no ratios, so you can have your mind at ease if you're not using the right ratios. But it still takes a little bit of time because there's 3 different steps because of that no mixing. Okay, it gives you that semi-permanent effect where it will, because of that staining, it will last a good time. But then if they need something more invasive, they have to do their microblading treatments. But if somebody does not want to do their microblading, their tattooing, their powdered brows service because they don't either want to invest in it and so forth, this is an alternative. So if you're in this room and you do these services, these powdered brows, tattooing, or microblading, the Intense Browns will actually bring in more clientele for you because you could use this service to test out those more permanent services on them without it being permanent, and they can see if they like the look, and then they can go to the more invasive treatment, or they're like, hey, I like this look, can I come to you and still do the Intense Brown? So you're adding more clientele to you as well. Okay. I do see some questions. I'm still having trouble with the sound and the video somehow. Not quite sure as it could be in your settings. As I believe everyone else is okay, they can hear. Okay. And then I have another one. Do you have clients who still do the brow lamination with the Intense Browns? I have a client that doesn't think it would. Give me 1 second. I have a client that doesn't think it would be helpful since her brows are sparse. It's actually pretty helpful combining those 2 services, actually, for somebody who has very sparse brows. Because the brow lamination, the only thing is if the brows are extremely thinned out in certain areas, like it's a lot of thinning out, it's more skin, less hair, the brow lamination can only do certain wonders because it's meant to be working on hair. But I've had clients where they're very minimal in their brow hairs, but I relax the ones that are there to make it look fuller volume, so that when I brow map, I have now a bigger brow that I can brow map, and then I can stain the rest of the skin to match that brow laminated, more fuller brow. So to me, it's very effective. It's just at home, they have to maintain it a certain way because of them having more skin. They have to be a lot more careful with their aftercare, which we'll go through that. Okay. So, and we're going to go through some slides as what makes, you're welcome, what makes Intense Browns, much effective than a henna, like what makes it a better option to have. Okay, so let's just go through these slides a little bit quicker because a lot of you have already seen these presentations, but then we have some newer ones. We do have 4 colors, which is our ash brown, chocolate brown, deep brown, black brown. I am more of a chocolate brown since I have some warmth in my hair. Anything darker for me, I do not have soft facial features. So for me, it can make me look very aggressive. So as you look at each color, it gives you a tip, right? For the ash brown, it's great for those people who are cooler tones. They have the blonder hair, fairer skin. Then the chocolate brown has a slight warm undertone. It's very little. Don't think of it like your chestnut and your reds in your oxidative. There's times that you don't even see the red, the warmth in this because it's so slight, and depending on the client's undertone as well. The deep brown is great for people who have soft facial features, so you can add that contrast. You can add that depthness. The black brown is great for lashes, and then because it's the darkest color, or as you can see we'll see in the before and after pictures, if you want to give somebody a little bit more of those sharp features. Okay, there are some questions. So let's see the questions that we have here. What do you do first? Lamination first. Correct. Laminate first and then Intense Browns, and the timings stay the same because it's not like the oxidative. Okay. Yes, correct. Client with natural gray, it will cover. The ash brown would be good for those natural grays as it will cover. It's more of the oxidative tints that, because remember, this is two different technologies. Let's go over the technology so you guys understand. Oxidative tinting opens up the hair structure, just like when you color your hair. It opens it up, it deposits the color, and then as time passes within that 24 hours, that hair structure starts to close up and seal. So the processing to open up that hair sometimes cannot open up that gray hair, that gray, stubborn, unruly hair. So when that happens with the oxidative tints, you have to pre-soften it with our bleaching paste, where you have to leave it on for 3 to 5 minutes so that it can break down. It can make that gray hair that's unruly porous, so that when you put the oxidative tint on top, it will deposit into the hair structure. Okay, you'll be able to open and deposit. Now, when you're talking about the intense browns treatment, it is coating the outer layer of the hair. There is no roughening of the cuticle. There's no opening of that cuticle structure whatsoever. That's why we say this treatment is really good for people who are sensitive, because there's not that roughening, okay, of the cuticle. So on that note, when it coats on top of the hair, it's staining it, right? So it will have that full coverage. If you do find that you're working on somebody where their gray is totally full on their brows, totally unruly, totally wiry gray, and you're struggling with it, then you might have to do a little bit of that pre-softening, but you can't do it in the same day as the intense browns. The bleaching paste does not work well with the intense browns, and you could have some coloring issues. So you have to wait 24 hours between each service. You would do the bleaching first and the pre-softening, and then you'd come back 24 hours later to do the intense browns. But I haven't had any trouble yet with that gray covering with the intense browns. But that is a choice. And if it does happen, you know now. Okay. Befores and afters. These are great to see the models. These are great befores and afters that you can pull off of our website and use on your social media, use to also show your customers as well, because how better will they know the coloring if they can see the before and after, and with a model that might be closer to their hair color, skin color as well, right? So as we see the first one with the ash brown, it is the model is the fair skin, a lighter hair. And in all of these befores and afters, the technique is the full brow. So it is solid from the beginning to the end. So this look may not be for everybody. So you will have to learn to do the ombre technique, which we talk about that as well in here. Then the chocolate brown, you can see there's not too much difference between the ash brown and chocolate brown in degree of density of the color getting darker, but that the chocolate brown has a little bit of warmth to it. Okay, will you remind us what the procedure is for gray hairs later? Sure, if you want me to do it later, I can do it, or I can tell you right now, because Charlene says, can you do all three, bleach, laminate, and intense browns? Once again, you will have to break all that in 24 hours, right? Just the bleaching paste will have to be done 24 hours ahead of time, even with the brow lamination. So you do the bleaching paste first, then they come back the next day and do the brow lamination and the intense brown. So you have to wait a full 24 hours actually. Okay. Hopefully that helped answers both of the questions. And then we have the deep brown. As you can see, this model, she does have soft, very facial features, but her hair. So if you have somebody that has powerful hair where all this gets lost and they have soft facial features, you can go darker, you can go more intense, you can't even use the full brow technique because that client can use that. But if they have bold hair but they have a very strong facial feature, you might want to tone it down on the coloring. But here, when I look at this model, I see just her beautiful hair. I fail to notice her beautiful smile, her brows, but once her brows are tinted with the intense browns, I see the full picture. So that makes a big deal. And that's what clients are coming in. They want a total effect to be put all together when they're looked at. Okay. There are some more questions. I use dark brown for the eyelashes. How many minutes would you recommend for the lash lift? So the intense browns does not change after a lash lift or a brow lamination. The timing stays the same because it's topical. It coats the outside. The only reason why you lessen the oxidative tint timings is because you don't want to over process, because you had the brow lamination or the lash lift making the hair very porous, and it was chemicals. Then you have the oxidative tints, which are chemicals again, and making the hair porous. So you don't want to over process, so you lessen the time. So if you're using the oxidative, all you need is about 2 minutes after a lash lift, and about 1 to 3 minutes after a brow lamination. Okay, if you have a client very fair in color, what I do, the last step of the activator with the ash brown for under a minute, you can't decrease it because then you will not have the proper results. The timings have to stay as they are. Anything less, if you lessen the 1 minute, you're not going to have the results needed. I do have a tip in here to help you to soften it a little bit. Okay, so let's just look briefly at the system, because remember, as I mentioned, you're not mixing it like the oxidative, which the oxidative service is faster because of the mixing. You mix, you apply, you're done under 5 minutes. This one has 3 steps. Now the primer becomes optional. It's optional as well for lash tinting. A lot of customers still use the primer for lash tinting when they put it on the skin, because I don't know if a lot of you have heard from your customers, because I've had people asking me and I tell them, oh, you got to be careful, patch test to see that they're okay. But when you do a regular oxidative tint, a lot of customers say, can you let the tint touch my skin right by my eye here so it looks like an eyeliner? So they let it on there. But with the oxidative tints, you have to be so careful with that because it could cause allergic reactions. So if you've patch tested and they were okay, sure. With the intense browns, because it's plant-based and it doesn't roughen or it doesn't do anything to the effect of the skin as it shouldn't, you can actually do that eyeliner effect. So you can actually use the primer. Why? Because the primer actually prepares the skin for the staining. So you could actually give them an eyeliner that could potentially last a couple of days. So that is why, if, in general, if you're just doing a lash tinting, you don't need the primer at all. But if you're going to do some staining on the skin, then you do need it. Some people even do freckles with this. Okay. They try it without and with the primer, depending on the durability of how long they want it to stay on the skin. Remember, the primer prepares the skin for staining. It opens slightly a little bit the skin, very slightly, so that the gels are going to grasp on there, and the final step of the activator, so that they could have that 8 to 10 days of skin staining. Okay, so that's why it says here optional. But if you have a client that is patchy brows and needs that skin staining, you have to use this. But if you have somebody that came to you with full brows, luscious brows, then you don't need to do that. Okay, you can omit the primer. So be mindful of that, because I had a lot of people say, oh, I read that it says optional, or somebody at the trade show says I don't need to use it. You do not need to use it if you do not need to do skin staining. Okay. Otherwise, your client will be upset if it didn't stay in those patchy areas. What happens if the activator is left on more than a minute? Nothing, because the activator stops at 1 minute. It's not productive. It doesn't continue. It stops. So nothing happens. What I love that I'm going to try the eyeliner effect with my girls. Yeah. I tried when it first came out. I went and tried the freckled effect because I always thought freckles were so cute. So I did that, and I had it last for a couple of days in the summer. It was really cute. It is a lot of time to do it, but the effect was really nice. So have fun with it. Have fun with it. Okay. So let's go to the next. If by accident I missed your question, I'm so sorry. Please repeat it again. Okay. There's the 4 colors again. We already discussed them, so we can be quick with that. And then the activator. I keep on forgetting to add some confetti. I always say I should add it and I don't. This should be like a big burst of confetti, because this is where the magic happens. in both of the gel steps, you don't see anything. That is why they're clear gels. Nothing happens. That is why brow mapping is extremely important. So you keep the brows symmetrical. You can brow map right from the beginning, which I teach that way, so that your gels stay in that stencil, or you can brow map just when you go do your activator part. The activator part is the part that's going to start staining the skin. So some people will put it the brow mapping then. But if you have somebody that their brows are barely there, I brow map right from the beginning, so it gives me that eye of all that symmetry and where my gel should go. So once again, you become the artist. You'll know what will make you perfect that service, but that's how I like to teach. Okay. Then we go to the techniques. Okay. So we have, sorry, as the slide mentioned, we have the full brow technique, the ombre, and the brow filling. So what's the difference? The full brow is that full smooth effect from beginning to end. It's for that person that needs that remodeling of their brow or needs that full or strong effect, right? So if they were very, very patchy, their brows, like very extremely, you have to do this full brow technique. Otherwise, their brow won't look good. It'll still look patchy. Okay. So as you can see, that is the full brow technique. But this look may not be for everybody, may not be for a more mature clientele, even from your like late 30s, early 40s. Sometimes this might be a little bit too much. They want it a little bit softer. So your ombre technique is what becomes popular. Okay, so your ombre technique is what's going to be something you would learn to perfect, because it's going to be 99% of what you're, 95%, I guess I could say, what you're going to be doing. Because if you're in a state that you have to just use this tinting system because it's FDA compliant, then you have to use this for all your customers. So your ombre is going to become very important technique to you. Okay, as you see, it's softer at the beginning, and as the gradation, the coloring gets darker as it goes to the tail end. And in the tips and tricks that I'm going to have the slides, you're going to see that our spoolies, our beautiful spoolies, we get really good feedback with these, with the silicone spoolies, are going to play an important role in a lot of these tips and tricks. Okay, so if you have yet to purchase these, please head to your nearest distributor and purchase them. One thing I just remembered that I didn't say at the beginning, I want to say something else to a contest part. We will have a contest at the end. So I forgot to mention this. So if you're going to take pictures during this webinar, do it. It's going to help you with the contest. I forgot to mention that. So take pictures of the webinar. It's going to help you with what you would have to post in order to be entered with the contest. Okay, so I just remembered that. Okay, so that's your ombre technique. It's gentler, it's softer, it's more natural. Okay. And then your final is your brow filling technique. Your brow filling technique basically is, now I kind of wanted to show a different type of a model for this, because your brow filling technique, think of this, it's only the areas you need to put on, like it's only the areas you need to work, because there was no hair there. There was less density. So for example, if a client came to me and had full brow, a full luscious brow from the beginning to the arch, but nothing to the rest, I can work on just from the arch, a little bit of those hairs are there, and map from the arch to the tail end and just work there and just try to blend the coloring. Okay. I don't have to work the whole brow with all the gels. So a brow filling technique is that you're looking to see what areas need the coloring, the staining, and just work those. In this effect here, to me, in this before and after, or in this model, it looks to me more of an ombre, a different way to do an ombre, right? By doing the brow filling technique. But for me, I do the brow filling technique where I have clients that have full luscious brows, either from the beginning or the end, and I only work on that area that need that staining and that coloring, and I blend it appropriately with the rest of the hair. Okay. Are the silicone brushes okay to barbicide, or at least on the brush end? Do not soak. Barbicide can get a little aggressive for these tools. If you are in Canada, please use your Prevention RTU wipes or liquid. If you are in the US, Preempt, please use your Preempt RTU wipes or liquid. And if you are in the US, please use your Prevention wipes or spray. And do not use alcohol as well. Alcohol is pretty harsh as well. You have to leave things soaking 10 minutes in alcohol for it to be effective in disinfection. And what happens with the alcohol is it can eat away at the silicone material, and anything that you're using silicone, lash lifting pads, tinting pad silicone. So the best option would be Preempt if you're in Canada, Prevention if you're in the US, and it's the 3-minute RTU in Canada and the 1-minute Prevention ready to use in the US. Okay. I'm going to show a quick video, which means right now I have to share my screen. So you guys will have to let me know if you could see the screen. So I'm going to hit screen sharing. This is a quick little video that you could even use to advertise in your salon. But I just want you, for the new ones, to understand this system and how it works. So let's show this one. I'm going to open up the window and you're just going to let me know if you could see. Just give me a minute just to get that going. Okay, so there's a screen right here. Can you guys see? I'm going to make it bigger after. I just got to see the chat box. But can you see a blue screen? Okay, perfect. I'm going to hit play and just let me know that you could see it. You guys can see the video playing? Okay, perfect. Biomer, I have to check. As long as it's not alcohol based, I'd have to check if Biomer is okay. Anything that has alcohol base can make them very gummy and then they get ruined. Okay. So as you can see, a lot of the drying time, the spoolies, just watch everything that they're doing in here because it's going to help in the slides that I'm going to show afterwards. So that's the primer, 4 minutes, dry removal. Now they didn't brow map yet here. They like to do it at the end, okay? Now this model has significant amount of hair, so it's okay. You can follow it easily. Be generous with the primer. We're going to go through that as well. Why you should be removal dry as well. We're going to go through those tips. So now they're going to brow map just before the activator. Remember, the activator is the part that the magic happens, the staining happens. Okay? You see instantly when you touch it, it stains. Okay? Now she's doing the little spoolie effect for the ombre. And at the end, it's where you can apply a little bit of water to your cotton round. Don't go too crazy and clean it. Tint remover, only if you have to clean any areas that looked abrupt or staining that wasn't supposed to be there. Styling gel is your last thing as you apply your conditioning agent. You're conditioning, you're hydrating, you're styling those brows, and then your client is ready. So this is a really nice commercial video to help you guys even advertise it, even on your social media and so forth. You by all means utilize these. Okay. So let me stop sharing. Let me just go back and see that everybody was able to see that. Everybody was able to see the video. Okay. Just reassure me again. Okay. Awesome. Because I lose the chat when I expand the screen. Okay. There's a question. Do you have a recording webinar about basic tinting only? Yes, we do. It's all on our website. And our next webinar is actually going to be on the oxidative tinting and custom coloring. So by all means, come and join that one as well. I do have a slide that shows when that next webinar is. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Okay, so how'd you guys think about the video? Great video, right? Really well done. And it's a great video. Now, it's not into detail. The webinars that I do, the webinars that you're going to go watch, they are in more detail, right? I give you all those tips, but it's a great way for you to see what the service does, and it's a great way for your clients to see. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the feedback. Now, I'm going to go briefly on about this because it's great to know what's the benefit of you adding intense browns to your service menu. Well, in addition to your oxidative tinting, we're talking to both Canadian and the US side. So when we talk about the oxidative tinting, in the Canada side, they're okay to use it. Intense browns can expand your client base, okay, because of the following. Because it's staining the skin. Okay, that's the first and foremost reason that you'd want to bring this system in is because it's going to stain the skin. And once again, it depends on the client's skin type, but they can achieve a nice full week with the proper aftercare instructions. Okay, great for sensitive clients. So I did mention these earlier on. It's due to the herbal ingredients that are inside the gels. This is going to be very suitable for those clients that were allergic. There's also a lot of clients that are allergic to lash tinting with oxidative. Fairer skin, bluer eyes, lighter eyes, they get more sensitivities. So this could be also a great way to tint, because instead of sending that customer away and say, no, like that customer can't get the service done, you have now an option for that customer to get the service done. So try to have that versatility. It will only benefit your business and bring in that profitability. Okay. And then you can redesign, remodel your client's brow due to missing a significant amount of hair and give them a full brow. So if you are not a microbladist and so forth, but a client is coming to you to see what can your skills do with the tinting, now you have this option to advance your skills and help give them more remodel and give them a brow without having to offer those more invasive services. Okay. Why? And further on, it's vegan, it's plant-based. There's a lot of salons that are actually plant-based, that are actually organic. So they are looking for services that are, or brands that offer this plant-based option. So there we go. We have that natural product system that they could bring in. As I mentioned earlier, a microbladist or a PMU artist can market the service better when using this system to give their clients a non-invasive treatment that gives them that similar effect to microblading or powdered brows. Okay. But also that client, if they will try that service, if they like it, they're returning back into your chair. Either they're returning back in the chair to get this service done, or they like the effect. They're like, yes, I want a more invasive service. Let me come back and do the microblading or the powdered brows, or let me come back and do this. Okay, so it's so beneficial for so many of you artists out there. And then also we said no mixing required. Say goodbye to those mixing ratios when you're using this. How often can it be used for clients who want their skin stained, right? Are you talking about, because we say it lasts 8 to 10 days of staining. Now, a lot of professionals were like, okay, it's plant-based. I'm going to get my customer to come every week and I'll restain it. Sure, it's not going to affect their skin. It shouldn't affect them, but the skin needs to regenerate itself, and in order to hold that staining. So if you do it every week, there are chances, which I had people call me and tell me that, there are chances that it might not stick anymore on the skin. So I always say after 2 weeks, get them to come in. We also have a beautiful makeup line, and I do have it on right now because I didn't have time to do intense browns. I've been ill, I've been tired, so I didn't have a chance. So I used my number 3, the brow pencils. Amazing, all day, smudge proof, waterproof. This is a great way to market your retail with this service. So if they have to come back after 2 weeks for the restaining of the skin, and then after during that 1 week the staining is there but then it's away, they still have a week where they need to do something to their brows. So that means that they could use that pencil for that other week. You match them with the pencil, you sell it to them, they use the pencil, and then they come back in that 2nd week mark to restain it. Okay. Hopefully that answered your question, Lourdes. How long should a client wait after a lash tint if they decide to get lash extensions? If it is I would just say for both of them, we say 24 hours. You tint and they come back 24 hours to get the service. I would just say the same thing with the intense browns. The intense browns shouldn't affect it because it's plant-based. So maybe it could be okay to do it the same day. But the oxidative, 24 hours. Okay. We are concerned that the tint is breaking the perm. Maybe it's the liquid to remove tint. Can you speak on how to ensure perm is not broken when we wipe off product? You are thinking when you're doing either a brow lamination or a lash tint, a lash lift, that the tint is breaking down the color. I mean, the effect. It shouldn't, but it depends on how you apply it. Like obviously for brows, follow the structure of the hair when you're applying it. With the lashes, follow the structure of the lashes when you're applying the tint. Don't cake it on because it can weaken the perm. And then when you're removing, I remove my oxidative tints dry. I do not put any water or anything like that because I find that my colors stay much more pigmented. So I take a dry cotton and I just clean until I don't see it on the cotton round. when you wipe. And that way the brow lamination doesn't get compromised too by putting so much water onto it. But that's the only way that can help. But I don't have that effect. Brow laminations usually, depending on their brows, how thick they are, the brow lamination tends to wear down at the 4th week mark. Now, if your brow lamination starts to wear down at the 1st week mark, it could be that your timings are not correct or something in the application was not correct, Judy. Okay. Henna versus intense browns. I kind of wanted to put this in there too, because as we launched, excuse me, intense browns, a lot of people we launched this in 2022. A lot of people were coming into the webinar, sitting, watching, and they were actually giving me really good feedback about henna, because a lot of people out there are using henna or were, because when the intense browns came out, they swapped to intense browns. So what makes intense browns a better alternative to henna? Doesn't mean that you can't still use henna. By all means, you can. But what makes the intense browns a better alternative is safe to use, as there's no PPD. Why do we say that? So all natural hennas usually can take about 30 minutes to activate. If you're working with a henna that activates very fast and you're done in a couple of minutes, that means those ingredients are not all natural, which means there are added ingredients such as PPD in there to make that color activate faster, which PPD is what gives people allergic reactions. So when you're looking for a henna brand, be mindful of that. If it's very quick to use the henna and it activates very quick, you are not using an all plant-based or all natural product. Okay. Henna usually lasts 2 to 3 days. Intense browns, we say 8 to 10 days on the skin, 4 to 6 weeks on the hair. There are henna brands that do not allow you to brow laminate. So the majority of people that I've confirmed that are using henna told me you can't laminate at the same time as henna. You have to wait 24 hours. With Reflecticel's Intense Browns, you can do your brow lamination and intense browns in the same seating, and you won't have any issues as long as you made sure that the brow lamination solutions are cleaned properly, your hair is dried, and then you can begin with the intense browns. Okay. Henna tends to give brows a very warm tone. You might have seen, even you, as you apply it and your customer comes back and says, oh my gosh, it's like as it wears out the henna, it tends to turn very warm. Some people, it can turn redishy orangey, and it does not look nice. It does not complement well, even as it's fading. Who wants to see that, right? So the intense browns, they are cool tones, and as they fade as the color is. Okay, so there's no warmth or reddish tones coming out after when it's fading. So that's some plus for you guys to help you to know when you're doing your research or when you're trying to see what system to use or bring or so forth. Okay, so now we're getting into the nitty gritty. Now we're getting into the perfecting your skills. So what are some steps to keep in mind when using this system, the Intense Browns? And the service you can call is Brow Intensifying. This is a service you would call in your menu. So let's see what we can do to perfect these skills. The first thing is your preparation. So a lot of you have been with me from the beginning when we launched, supported, and so forth. But as you know, preparation is very important. Anything we do in the beauty industry, even when we do our facials and so forth, we have to prep the area so that the next alignment of whatever the service is works properly, gels are penetrated properly, and so forth, so that the results at the end are as they should. Okay, so we want to make sure that the canvas is free from any traces of sweat, debris, makeup, and so forth. Even if the client comes in without any makeup, you must still do these preparation, because the environmental factors such as sweat, dust, debris, and so forth play a factor. Also, the client could have said, I didn't put any makeup in my brows, but they put makeup around their face. They put foundation, they put powder, and then as you clean the brows, you can see all that's landed on the brows. So the canvas has to be immaculate. Okay, think of a canvas, a nice white canvas that you buy, and you want to start drawing your art on it. If that canvas is tainted, your art won't look pretty, or you might have to work really hard to make that blend. Okay, so be mindful of that. Yep. Plus, some people have oily skin, and I do have a slide in here with a model that she had such ever so producing oily skin. That's why she looks amazing. But it affected my intense brown treatment where I had to repeat it 3 times. But I gave her the most beautiful brows. So that's a tip in here too, that about that. Okay. So how do you do this? The Reflectisol Micellar Makeup Remover. Please, I know a lot of people say, oh, I have something at home that I'm using. Be mindful that when Reflectisol tested the products of what works from A to Z with the system, they tested it with the Reflectisol. They didn't sit there and start testing with this brand, this brand, this brand of makeup remover. So they created the appropriate makeup remover to work with the system. So it's micellar eye makeup remover. It's non-oily. If you're using something oil-based, you're going to totally have the weakest and no results. Okay, so be mindful of that. Thelma, it's recorded, so don't worry. Stay for the remainder. You're actually in the good part of the tips and tricks for intense browns. For some issues that you might have with it, you came at the right time, but it is recorded, so don't worry. Okay, and then we also have the Lash and Brow Foam. The Brow Foam is great for people who are more sensitive. The foam technology, what it does, it helps lift debris through the foam. So it's great to have either or option or both. Okay, I always carry both because if I have a client that's more sensitive, I use the foam on them. But you use either or. Now, if those of you who remember before when we first launched Intense Browns, we said you have to use a saline. So that's the next slide that says, well, what about saline solution? Well, we know that the saline solution for best practices when you're doing Reflectisol services, the saline solution, you're welcome, guys, no worries, you're welcome, Tina. And the best practices for any services you're doing from Reflectisol, whether you're doing a lash lift, whether you're doing a lash curl, whether you're doing a oxidative tinting, whether you're doing a intense browns tinting, a brow lamination, sorry, not intense browns, take intense browns out. Brow lamination, you have to follow through with the saline because it degreases the area. And for those services that you work with the glue, you're working with the hairs to stick, the saline solution will be your savior. Now, with intense browns, this is the only service that you will not need to use the saline solution because the salt particles in the saline solution do not work well with the silver nitrate. In our activator, the ingredient is called silver nitrate. That is what is approved as a FDA color additive. So those two, they don't like each other. They don't want to party with each other. They don't want to work with each other. They don't want to do anything with each other. So what happens is because they don't work well with each other, the patchiness could happen. So when a lot of people, you're welcome, when a lot of people were saying that they were getting patchiness, at first, before they figured out about the saline, there was a lot of tips we had to show and explain, but a main reason is the saline solution. So now you omit it for just intense browns. Okay. In this webinar, we won't discuss how much to charge, but I can tell you guys, because this is a service that requires more attention, more artistic skills on your end, more time. You're giving your client a brand new brow, essentially, because they're missing hairs. You can charge between $45 to $65. Depending on your demographics and where you are located. So it's a lot more than just a regular oxidative brow tinting. The brow tinting with oxidative, you can charge $15 to $20 because you're done so quick. Okay. And you don't need to brow map most of the time. You don't need to. You're not doing any skin staining, so you don't. Okay. How I get why it was patchy when staining, we were originally told to use saline. Yes. So Brittany, so originally when we taught and when the manufacturer taught us, they said to use the saline solution because we use it with all the other services. But now remember that only intense browns do not use the saline because of the salt particles. They don't work well with the silver nitrate, so you will have that patchiness. Welcome, Tammy. Okay. So how long would you say the entire appointment would expect it to take? We say to book your client for 40 minutes if you're doing the brow lamination and the intense browns. If you're doing just the intense browns, between 20 to 30 minutes, because you also want to factor in your shaping as well. You know, what better way to finish off a brow service is by shaping with any type of hair removal. Okay. The other thing too is factor in some time. Sorry, my brain's a little congested with how congested I am, so it's trying to work a little harder. When you are booking in a first-time client that you've never touched their brows before, add a little extra time because you're going to see by the troubleshooting in this PowerPoint, there are times that you wipe and you're like, oh my God, it did nothing. Like it didn't stain the skin or stain it very fair. So you need some time to correct because you can correct it and so that your client can leave happy because they're paying for this service. Okay. I'm just now able to find the chat. Oh, sorry. Hi. Hi, Kyle. Thank you for joining us. Sometimes it can be hidden until you find it. So I'm glad you find it. You found it. So welcome. Can you wax and use the brow products right after? So the waxing will be done at the end. I know sometimes people on Instagram, they teach waxing before. We don't. We teach, and as a proper professional, because I'm also an esthetician, we don't want to compromise the skin in any way or any way. So you don't, if you were to shape before, pull, like remove hair, wax, pluck, tweeze, sorry, you will create sensitivity. And then when you apply the chemicals, like the brow lamination or anything like that, it will create more sensitivity. Now, if you were to do the service first, brow lamination, then the tinting, and then shape afterwards, you're going to see the brow in its full scope and you're going to shape it even better because you'll see hairs that were so blonde. You'll see the full scope of the brow. Okay, so shape at the end, and then your final thing will be your color gel. I mean, your styling gel. Okay. Is the intense browns that it should be so far because that we're the only FDA compliant. So ours is the only one that has this so far as the approved ingredient of silver nitrate. So there might be other companies that might start to, get on it and work on it, but we are the first from since 2022. It took 7 years. It's not that quick. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of testing to go back and forth with the FDA and so forth. And we were the first. We are the first FDA compliant tinting system using this silver nitrate approved ingredient. Okay. Hi, I took the class on this brand. They did not teach brow mapping. Is there a webinar on brow mapping? All our webinars show the brow mapping, but we show the simplest brow mapping so it doesn't overwhelm people. When it's the brow mapping that is the very many advanced like lines, that tends to freak people out. The only time I feel that you got to do those type of advanced brow mapping is if that brow is completely compromised or somebody comes to you and they don't really have a brow. They've done chemo or something like that and you barely can see the brow there. You need to make it very symmetrical. So those lines help you. The caliber helps you. But we teach a very simple, and it's in all of our videos. Okay. Because it's plant-based, do I not need to perform a patch test? Nope, that's not the case. Because some people can be allergic to plants as well. Some people are allergic to water. So you would still have to patch test. But when you patch test, you build it on top of each other. You don't do it separately. Like, how you do the oxidative, you mix the oxidant and the color gel, the tint together, and then you put it in one spot. With this one, you build on the same spot over and over each other. Okay. Yes, it is safe for chemo patients because it's plant-based, but once again, you want to do a patch test because the treatments, the medication they take, it can alter your hormones and so forth. So why not be caring and check to see if they will have any reaction? Because the last thing you want to do is have them have a reaction while they're in the bed, while they're in the treatment chair. No, a proper practitioner will find out ahead of time. So we usually say 48 hours ahead, do the patch test from the service. Okay. What would you charge for lamination and brows together? If you were to tint with the intense browns, you could go up to $125 to charge for this, which will include the complete brow styling of brow lamination, brow intensifying, and shaping, and your aftercare. Okay. Would you ever use stencils? You can. You can use stencils. Just got to make sure that the gels don't seep out underneath them, and then you get a weird staining. But you could try. As artists, we're artists when it comes to brows. We can try things and make sure, and don't test it on your paying customer. Try it out before with a model or a friend, and then see if it works. And then you can put it on your service menu or you can use it as part of your service. Okay. Can you apply the intense browns over old tattooing? Yes, you can. I've done so many customers where they've had a old tattoo or a old microblading. It's turned warm, it's turned green. They don't want to go back and do it, and it covers it beautifully. Okay. Would it be possible to save questions for the end so we can get through your slides? We can, as long as everybody can remember to send these questions. If it's something not related to this, I would say keep it to the end. If your question is related to this certain slide, ask it. But if it's not, yes, I agree with the comment. Wait till the end. Okay. Patch testing, inner forearm, in the crease of your forearm, behind the ear is the most sensitive area. So some people like doing it behind the ear. In the UK, Devora, is that your name? Devora, you must go on to the Reflecticel AT, so reflecticel.at, and they have all their accounts from all the different countries there, and you can get it. Okay. Should we exfoliate? Yes. So this is super important you're welcome. This is super important in the intense brown system as you are skin staining. Now, to have that transition, a clean, smooth staining, any clients that have dry skin, you'll need to exfoliate, because what can happen is that the flecks of the dry skin, as you're done or as you're cleaning at the end, and those dry skins come off when you completed the service or when they go home, it flakes, it becomes patchy. So we don't want that. So exfoliate properly before and able to have, so you're able to have that clean canvas. I also, if I see that I have a customer, because I dealt with this oily customer before, that now I'm like, oh, I should just exfoliate even when I have a client who has oily skin, like they produce like this, I exfoliate. So it's a good part of your service, exfoliation. You could use so here's the steps. Clean with the micellar makeup remover first, then exfoliate brow and skin area. So even the skin area that you're going to stain with the brow foam, and then clean again with the micellar makeup remover or the foam. Okay. Just to clean the area, because you did all that scrubbing and there was the little particles of the skin, and remove it again. But if you're going to use a mechanical, like a scrub, once again, follow these steps. But in the middle, the step number 2, you're gonna replace it with whatever scrub you're using. Use small spheres because you're working around the orbital area, like you're working around the skin where it's much thinner. So use a good facial line that you use of a exfoliant. People ask me, can we use mechanical exfoliants? I say no. I'm sorry, chemical exfoliants, because I don't know how those chemical exfoliants will react with the coloring with the silver nitrate. So I would say stick to just the mechanical one and then wipe it off, because with the chemical it can embed into the skin. So just be mindful of that. Everybody understands exfoliation? Very, very, very important. Okay. If you know what, you can get the makeup remover from a lot of our online distributors as well, if your distributor doesn't carry it, but you should let your distributor know, because they will bring it in once they know it's very important. But any of these questions about ordering products, I could also help you at the end if you send an email to us, but we'll go through that. Can you enzyme exfoliants? Well, there is some if it doesn't affect the service, try it. You can try it as long as it doesn't affect the result at the end. If you're finding that you did everything right and it's affected it, then maybe you might want to skip that. But I think I've heard a lot of people who've used, because there is some enzymes in the exfoliants, it should be okay. With water, no, I say you got to go back with the makeup remover. With the non-oily makeup remover, because you want to remove those. Maybe sometimes exfoliants have oils in them. So you got to go back with the makeup remover. Okay. You got to make sure that canvas is clean. So we've got the exfoliation. Drying. Yes, again, drying is so important in this system and in other systems too. When you're doing the lash lifts, when you're doing the brow lamination, between gels, between when you prep, it's so important to dry the area so that it accepts what you're doing next. So drying the brow hairs and skin after you have finished cleansing and exfoliating, and then cleansing again, is important, because those hairs in the skin area are wet. It allows the first step of the gel system. So when you're done drying, it allows the primer to work effectively. If the area was wet, if the skin was wet, how is that gel going to open a little bit of that skin and rest in it, it won't be able to do that. So make sure that after you've prepped, you've dried as well. Okay. And you can use any of those lash fans. If you don't, I would suggest purchase a lash fan. It makes your life easier because in this system, you got to dry a lot. And if you're doing a brow lamination before that, you have to dry like 4 or 5 times. Okay. And let's see the next step. So far these tips, you're understanding. Application. So when using the Intense Brown system, what application tools you use, they do play an important role. Refectisol has created, as I mentioned, these, the Browista toolkit with the silicone application, with a silicone spoolie. What makes a silicone spoolie special? Well, I have two bullets there. The first is that the bristles are very short. Unlike disposable mascara ones, the bristles are very long. And what happens is that product gets trapped in there. So when you're doing the gel applications, they're going to get trapped in there and not on the skin. And when you're spreading it nicely with the silicone, you're not transitioning it nicely on the skin. It's getting trapped into that silicone, into the disposable mascara wand. But when you use these ones, with the bristle being silicone, with it being short, you won't have that trapping, that excessive trapping where you're wasting product. Okay. And then you're able to have that smooth transition of the gels as you're using the spoolie to spread after you've applied it with the brush end. So very, very important, these spoolies. We always tell people, buy an extra set. It's so important. Is it reusable? Yes, they are. The silicone part can be disinfected. Once again, if you're in Canada, you can use the preempt RTU liquid or wipes. And if you are in the US, you can use the prevention liquid or wipes. And it will keep it safe. Once again, no alcohol. It can wear and tear it, and you want to preserve these as long as you can. Okay. The second bullet, the silicone material is not abrasive, which means that each gel will have a smooth application on the skin and the hair, which helps avoid patchiness. So if you were to use a disposable mascara wand, you can feel that those bristles are a little bit on the coarser side. So they will make a disruption. They will make the skin very patchy because the gel is going to be rubbed in a way and scrubbed in a way that it's not going to be effective. Okay, in the staining. Can I use disposable silicone brushes? If the bristles are effective, sure. If you're in an area like we're trying to avoid single use, so this is great for not using single use. But if you're in an area that they only want you to use single use, just try it out and see if the silicone brushes that you're using will be okay. Okay. So generous gel application. Should I be generous? Well, when applying the gels, especially the primer, the application should be generous and it should look visibly wet. Why? Well, the primer, as we mentioned before, it does prepare the skin for staining, and it does slightly open up the skin, very little bit, very, very little, so that those steps, the 3 steps of the gels, grasp in there. Okay. And that is what's helping for you to have the 8 to 10 days of the skin staining. Okay. And what was I going to say? Okay. So what I've noticed when I've done a lot of the trainings, when I've when it's hands-on, so they put the gel on and it's 4 minutes, right? So it says there, if during the 4 minutes of the primer, the brows are completely dry and there's still time left, the staining at the end may be compromised. And I've actually let this test out in classes I've done. So I've done these brow master classes, and it's okay, guys, put on the primer gel now because we all work at the same time. Put on the primer gel, and as I walk around, sometimes by the time I reach the other end to the other ones, it's 2 minutes has passed. And I look at a couple of these people, I'm like, oh, is 4 minutes done for you guys? The brows are completely dry. And they're like, no, I still have 2 more minutes. I'm like, were you generous with the solution? No, not really. So I said, okay, we have to learn from our mistakes. So I tell them, leave it, continue, don't correct it. And let's see what the result will be, because I will let you know now that your skin staining will be compromised. And sure enough, those people that I told them, it was compromised, meaning that it was very patchy. And in some areas, they wiped it off and there was no skin staining. So the primer gel needs to stay wet generously during the complete 4 minutes to allow even and complete staining of all skin area. Okay, so just be mindful of that as well. If you apply and you're like, oh, I still have a little bit gel, it's 2 minutes, it can look a little bit more wetter, you can apply some more. You can use whatever's in your bowl so it doesn't go to waste. but a lot of people just dab a little bit on and it looks very dry. And during that 4 minutes, it's not penetrating to hold that staining onto the skin. Okay, so hopefully everybody understands that now with a generous application. Removal, wet or dry removal. As you saw in the video, dry removal is the winner. Why? If you introduce water between your gel steps, okay, or even before, and you didn't dry it, but specifically during the removal of each gel. So you finish the primer and you got to remove it dry. If you put wet cotton, a wet Q-tip, you are disrupting the process, which will mean that there are no results possibly, or a very uneven and patchy application. So note, remove each gel step with a dry Q-tip and follow through with drying the area before the next gel application. So you remove with the dry Q-tip, and then you have your lash fan to dry or let it air dry for 4 minutes. If you have a fan, especially with more denser brows, it's faster, the drying time. Okay. So now you guys know wet versus dry. Activator tip. So here's some tips on when you're using the activator. Movement of application brush. So what do I mean by this? As you apply the activator, I always suggest keep your brush moving. A lot of times when I do classes, what I see is that they grab their activator and then they go to place it and they stop. So if you see here, it says any hard stops can create darker pigmented areas, which will result in an uneven application and not an aesthetically pleasing look for your clients. So I joke around, but it actually does look like that because, at the beginning when I was learning how to do this, I noticed that on my models. It looks like leopard print because you are resting it and then it's wet and then it's wet. And then, it's darker. It's darker in the areas that you paused before you start moving your brush. So it starts to look like a leopard print. So I tell people for fun, I say, hey, if you want to invent this new brow technique and customers are going to pay for this service, go ahead, do it. But if your client's not looking for a leopard brow and is looking for a nice, even, natural brow, you might want to avoid getting those hard sections, like those more pigmented areas. So always keep your brush moving. As I get close, my brush starts moving. See, it starts moving. And I'm doing these beautiful light strokes. Also, it's great to use our narrow end. Okay, so in your Browista toolkit, so in this nice little bag that you get the 2 bowls and the 2 brushes, I'm going to show you guys in my hand, you have your narrow end and your wide end. So when you're doing the activator part and you're moving, use your smaller and narrow brush because you're going to be able to apply it smoothly and nicely and not have all these hard stops because you have more control because it's smaller. Because the brow canvas for some people can be very small and you don't want to have unnecessary staining and you want to keep it controlled. So the narrow one helps. My internet was glitching. Can you please show step 3 again? You mean tip 3? Like it was removal. We had said when you're removing each gel, so for example, the first step is 4 minutes, the second step is 2 minutes, and then the final step is 1 minute. When you're removing each step, you have to remove with a dry Q-tip. Do not put water because it disrupts the process and potentially you can have a uneven or no results. You're very welcome. Okay, so everybody understood about the movement of the application brush. Okay. The other thing about the activator tip, keep it fresh. What do we mean by that? When you apply the activator, instantly we see the area. So the area that had the primer, the area that had the color gel, as soon as you apply the activator, it's boom, it's magic, right? So you start seeing that area darken. So what's happening is that it's activated. It's oxidized, as we say with all of our other products, right? So what does that mean when it's oxidized is that it's only going to work for 1 minute. So that activator that's on your brush only works for 1 minute. But what happens is that when it's activated and it's darkened and you touch that brow area and it's on the brush and you go back into your bowl to grab more because you got to continue the brow, you've now activated what's inside your bowl. So first thing is you're wasting it because you have to throw it away. Second thing is if you didn't throw it away and you weren't mindful of this tip, you have weakened what's in there, because remember, it's only active for 1 minute. So what has happened when people have called me and I know how to troubleshoot it, they're like, Chrissy, my brows are uneven. My first brow is nice and pigmented and stained nicely. My second brow is lightly pigmented and a little bit more patchier. Well, I asked them, did you double dip? Did you keep it fresh? They're like, oh no, I went back in. So whatever had darkened when you touched went back into your bowl, and that's darkening, and you'll see it. So, uh, um, oh, did I just go ahead of? I did. There we go. So there's the next slide. I went ahead. So this is why this tip helps you to understand why to keep it fresh. Do not let it become activated by touching your soiled brush in the fresh bowl. Okay. So what do? You clean it. So what to do? Wipe your brush. I wear gloves, so I wipe it on my gloves in different areas. But if you want to be more tidy, take a cotton and wipe it, and then go back in and grab more. Okay, so that's what you would have to do. So everybody understands about keeping it fresh. I went a little bit ahead of myself, and I didn't show the second slide, but that's your tip. Okay, do not dip back to get the fresh activator until you clean your brush, and then go back in. Okay, perfecting the ombre technique. So the ombre technique, as we talked about before, will be the most requested intense browns look. Why? It is the most natural effect, since intense browns color gels tend to give more of a microbladed or a bold makeup effect, which can be intense for some. The name is intense browns for a reason. Okay. So because of that, because of the intense browns being intense, and you're in certain areas of the US, like when you're in the US and you got to use the system, you got to figure out how you're going to make it accommodate to all your clients that are coming. So the ombre will be very effective. But this is where, once again, the silicone brush is going to be very, very effective. The silicone spoolie. So the tip is in the front area of the eyebrows, as you saw in the video that we played, they grabbed from the wet part and they buffed at the beginning. Okay, so you're careful not to touch the entire surface of the skin. You still want to buff the skin, because if you don't get a little bit of that staining on the skin, like if you were to use your brush, you're going to make it too solid. So it's going to look like a full brow. But if you took your silicone spoolie, you're buffing it where you're making it look very powdery, which it will look lighter here, and then it will start to get darker, which that's the effect that you want. So that's why the spoolie becomes the best option for the ombre. Okay. Now, another thing, I can't remember if the slide mentioned that. The silicone spoolie also plays a role. I think I forgot to mention in the slide that I said with your application brushes. Every gel, so when you're putting the primer gel, as you apply it with the thicker brush on, as you apply it, turn it to the spoolie and spread it with the spoolie softly. Do not rub hard. Then you go to the color gel. As you apply the color gel with the brush end, turn it after and spread it with the spoolie. So all the steps, you're using the spoolie to spread it evenly and have that even distribution of the color gel on the brow and the skin. Okay. The softening technique. What is that softening technique? Well, since the ash brown is the lightest of the colors, I'm hoping they're still going to try to work on a lighter color. But since the ash brown is the lightest of the color gels, this can still be an intense look for some of the people. Like the color can still look intense, because a lot of people in the webinar have told me, Chrissy, the ash brown is still intense. It's pretty dark. So for people who have fair hair color or fair skin, like lighter hair color and fair skin. So this is my Browista tip. I discovered this by just doing a lot of brows and hearing the clients saying, oh, this is too dark. What do I do next time? What can we do next time? So I played around to make the look a little softer during the 1 minute of the activator. So you have applied the activator. Okay. During that 1 minute, use a silicone spoolie. Okay. And buff. Okay. Because you're essentially making it lighter and making it look like a powdery effect when you're buff. Don't scrub, and don't use a disposable mascara wand, because you're not going to have that effect. Just buff. Okay, and this will help cater to those clients that can only be using the ash brown and making it a little bit lighter for them. Now, let me see if I saved this. This is on my Instagram, so I put the link there, but let me see if I saved the video, because then you can just watch it quickly. Give me 1 second. I don't know if I saved it on here. Let me see if I can share my screen, and I'll find it for you guys and I will show it, because this tip has helped me a lot to keep my clients happy with the blonder hair, okay, and the fair skin, because I don't want to lose them. So there, let me find it. Okay, so I found it. Let me share the screen again, and let me tell you the activator, not the color, the activator. You do not sterilize the spoolies. You will melt them. You just use a intermediate level disinfectant like your preempt RTU or your prevention liquid or wipes. Anything else, you will affect it. It's not a critical tool to dip it into a high level disinfectant or sterilizer. Okay, so let me share the screen. Please, guys, let me know if you could see what I'm going to open up. Can you guys see an Instagram page? Okay, perfect. Somebody said C3. Do not use CS20. If you're talking about disinfectant, do not use that. You will melt your silicone brushes. It's only meant for stainless steel, hard metal, hard plastic, for those critical tools or semi-critical tools. This is not a critical tool. Okay, so this is right here. So everybody can see the screen. Perfect. Okay. So I finished putting the activator and now I'm buffing it. Look how it's turning powdery. Look how it's softening it more, because before it looked solid with the activator gel. And look at that. I was able to make it look much softer for this client. Okay. So I wanted to show this for you guys to see that it is effective, and you could make those clients a little bit more happier, so it's not too bold. And it will fade, it will fade in a day or two. So, but that's a tip that I love to share. Okay, were you guys able to see that? Okay, good, awesome. Thank you guys. Okay, I'm glad you guys were able to see that. Thank goodness that I'm able to maneuver back and forth. You're buffing in the opposite direction of the hair growth. Oh, I'm just following the hair, the way the hair is. I'm just following it because that's the way I applied the gel. So I'm just following it and I'm buffing it. But as you saw it before, it was solid from the activator. And as soon as I started buffing it, it started to turn powdery. So as I saw that, I'm like, hey, this is a good tip to help people, to help them to soften it a little bit. Okay. Okay, perfect. Can the procedure go simultaneously with previous lamination? Can the procedure? What procedure? You mean the intense browns? You can do the intense browns after a brow. You can do the a brow lamination first, and then the intense browns after in the same seating. Yes. Okay, softening technique. So now you guys feeling a little bit more confident? Like, are these tips helping you? I want to know that these tips are helping you guys to go back and be like, we got this. We're going to go try this and we're going to love intense browns. Okay, thank you guys. I worked really hard on this PowerPoint for you guys. Okay, awesome. You guys are great. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. There was a question though before. With the ombre technique, do you start in the center of the brows with the spoolie, as the other way was to start at the end? So so as I'm applying, I always start from the tail end. Every type of brow I do, I apply the activator from the tail end because I'm working at a smaller canvas and I'm going bigger, so I have more control. And then as each section that I apply with the brush, I turn to the spoolie and then I rub the spoolie. Okay. And then I go back and I continue the rest of the brow. As soon as I reach to the portion where I want it to become ombre, I turn to my spoolie and I run it through the wet area. I grab the wet, and sometimes I go and I grab more activator and I wet that area again, and I run my spoolie through it, and then I buff the beginning of the brow. Okay. So hopefully that helps your question, Trudy. Okay. Very good information. Okay. Yes. So the buffing is to make it way light. Yes, it's to make it lighter. And that's the tip that I really want to share with you guys, because I don't want you to be discouraged until they can reach on a lighter color. I want you guys to be able to expand in your techniques and help to achieve this, especially when you're in the US and you have to use this, right? So I wanted to help you guys. Okay, very good information. Awesome. I did my first tint last week and I wish I knew these steps. Ooh, young. Never too late, okay? Never too late. So now you can take all these and it will help you, okay? These tips are wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. Okay, awesome. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these tips as a deck. You'll have to email me after. I was going to create a beautiful file, but that's going to take some time. I was going to create a beautiful file with these tips so that it's I can put it on the website for you guys. But in the meantime, what I can do is you'll have to email me and I can take these steps and send them to you. Okay. So balancing the color. What do I mean by balancing the color? Okay, so this is she's a beautiful model. I love working on her brows because look at the difference and look how gorgeous like it structured her face. You're welcome. But her brows give me, excuse my language, hell. But I know that I can keep clients like this if I learn to be calm and use my brain and use my expertise and work with them. So sometimes if there is more skin than hair when you do the staining, right? When you're staining the skin, the hair density is still darker than the skin. And you can see the difference in the coloration. Does that make sense? Because sometimes somebody might have, dense hair, dense hair, and in some areas a lot of skin. But then when you do the service, the dense hair still looks denser than the skin area. So it looks very uneven, the results, okay? And this can sometimes not be what the client was expecting in the results. So my Brow-Essa tip, once again, I discovered this on my own, thinking very hard and trying not to panic while I was doing this live demo in a distributor store. Okay, so if in your original application, for example, you had used the medium primer and the ash brown, and then you removed the activator at the end, and the skin was lighter in color than the rest of the brow that had hair, which makes the staining look off, you can correct it right then by applying a strong primer on the skin area and then repeat the ash brown color gel and activator. So let's repeat that again because that was a very long sentence I just realized. So I did this model, I did her brows 3 times, but I had to do it 3 times in front of people that came to watch me on a demo day. But as I mentioned, I didn't panic. In my head, I said, Chrissy, think smart. What do you do? She's the one that was producing a lot of oil as well. So as you can see in the picture, on the left side, so my left side, her brow area, there's an arch and more skin, less hair. Her brow on this side is much thicker. There's a lot more hair on this side. So the brow that essentially gave me the difficulty was the left side. When I did all of the steps. I did the ash brown. It might have been chocolate brown with her though. I did the chocolate brown, and because she has the warmth hair. And I did the activator. I did everything. I brow mapped. I got that skin. I was so happy. I wiped it off. That left brow, that's on my side. So on her side, it was her right brow. But on what I'm facing right now in the picture is the left brow. As I wiped it off, the staining came off as well, like the staining on the skin. And I said, okay, guys, don't worry. We go back and do it again because I was generous with the primer. So we'll go back and complete step 2 and 1 again. So I put step 2 again. I put the color gel again, and then I did the activator and I wiped it off, and it stained a little bit, but it was still very fair. And I said, come on, Chrissy, we got to correct this. We got to wow these people. So I said, guys, don't worry. Here's the 3rd step that I'm going to do, because my brain clicked in and said, listen, if this is going to happen, I would initially avoid doing it 3 times and only correct it the 2nd time if I had used the strong primer. So essentially I could have went in the 2nd time, went back, used the strong primer, and then did the activator, and look what her brows came out to after. Do you see the after picture? Look at the evenness in her skin and the evenness in her hair density. The color is all even. Now, sure enough, I had to do it 3 times here, but essentially I could have did it only 2 times. And now next time this client comes to me, it's only going to be done 1 time, because I'm going to use a strong primer on her skin and just the medium primer on her hair area, because she does have on the hair area some less dense areas. So I still got to use the primer. Or another tip is you could use a stronger color. So this tip really helps because ideally you're going to get customers that need that skin staining. So how do you balance that color? This is a tip. Does it make sense? Let me look into your questions. I hope it makes sense. But once again, I discovered this by doing this model and a lot of other people. I was just in Manitoba doing a show and I had a model in the chair that had very pencil thin brows, but in one side her brows were barely there. There was more skin. And I did it, but I had to show them again how to repeat it to correct it because as I wiped it, it came off because she had a lot more skin. And then when I did the second time, evenness, the staining was good. Okay, so yes, there'll be times you'll have to correct it again, only a second time. The reason why I did it 3 times with her is that it clicked in my head last minute that I should just do a strong primer on her skin because she has a lot of more skin area. Okay, so let's see your questions here. On the brow mapping, Jessica, if you go and watch any of our webinars, you'll see it's not a course. You'll just see us doing and teaching the brow, like teaching you how the brow lamination, how the brow mapping is. And then you can download the protocols that say brow mapping. It's all on our website. Okay. Okay. So will the strong primer not darken the hair that comes in contact and create a different problem? That is why you're not applying it on the hair. On her, I only applied it on the skin area that she needed it. Like it was a very art, like it was like a paint. I only put it on just that area, the strong primer, where her skin was a lot more. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but that's why I'm showing it on my brow. All this area that was just skin, I put the strong primer there. I didn't put anything on the rest of the hair. Okay, I just did the strong primer on the skin area, and then you a little bit at the end when you do the activator, you have to blend it in with the hair a little bit because you don't want to have any hard stops. So you have to blend in. So now you guys can see why this is a very artistic skill. Okay, so there's different primers. Yes, there are. There's a medium and a strong primer. Okay. So the strong primer also will help with the staining to last a little bit longer, but not everybody's going to want such a dramatic look. So be mindful when you use the strong primer, but on a skin area, you can do it if it's going to balance with the hair density of the coloring. So does everybody make sense to this? Sometimes writing it out is really hard, but explaining it is a little bit better. But did it make sense, the balancing of the color? Please let me know. But these tips are really going to help you guys. Like, have it be effective. Okay, so aftercare protocols. Apart from perfecting your skills for great client results in the Intense Brown system, how you direct them afterwards with the aftercare protocols is also important for that fresh brow service that they just received from you. So in our aftercare postcards, you can see several steps clients must take the first 24 hours. So like no water, no oil products, no saunas, no hot tubs, no swimming, no touching your eyebrows, all that stuff. But unlike regular tinting, oxidative tinting, since intense brown stains the skin, some protocols should be maintained even after 24 hours. So this is where I like to tell my customers, you want to have a full week of skin staining? Okay, well, then you must not put any oils on the skin and brow areas. When you're putting your cleanser, avoid that brow area. When you're doing your moisturizer, avoid that area. If you follow that step within that first week, you will have a great skin staining and your clients will be happy that they followed this and they kept it. So they just got to be mindful. Now I don't have it with me. It's probably still in my luggage from traveling, but it's these visors that you can sell to your client in a nice little aftercare bag, and they can put that in the shower so that when they're moisturized or when they're cleansing or when they're shampooing, nothing is going into that area. Okay, so for intense browns, you want to follow these steps even for that first week so they have the skin staining. Anything else, oxidative tints, lash lifts, brow laminations, after 48 hours, everything is sealed up, so it's okay. Okay, so does this make sense? And these protocol cards, like the printable, you're going to get them in your thank you email, and they're also going to be put up on our website for downloading. But for now, I put them in the thank you email. It's going to come after this webinar. If you want them to look fancy like this and printed in a nice card, distributors will carry them in a bundle of 25 cards for about $3 or $4. And the one side has a beautiful image, and the other side has has all their steps. So you could order these as well. Okay, and this brings us an end to all our tips. Okay, but we want you to follow and join our community. When we say join our community, we want you to be a part of this. We want to engage with you guys. We want to share your work. You can see on our Instagrams, we share both the accounts. So follow us on Reflectisol North America. Follow us on Broista by Reflectisol. I put the QR codes as well. It might be easier to scan instead of searching. And then we have our Reflectisol North America as well, Facebook. But we also created a Facebook Broista group. You might have seen last night, if you're in it, that I posted our webinar today. I try to post things in there to remind people, and I also troubleshoot in there as well. But we do have our Facebook Broista group. So please follow and join all these. I'll leave it on there for another minute. Share with me what you guys thought about this PowerPoint. Like, do you guys feel that for the new ones, you guys are all ready now? Because for the ones that you haven't tried this, now you're able to go back and have these tips. For the ones that didn't have these and now you do, you can perfect your skills now with these tips. Oh, I think there's people. I just can't see the chat box. Oh, shoot. There we go. Okay. Okay, somebody missed step 6. Sorry. I didn't see all the chats going on. So that's number 6, softening techniques. Can you combine 2 different colors to match the skin area? Yes, you can. You can. Now, the manufacturer says don't do it, but I always say, okay, we follow what the manufacturer says, don't do it, because what's going to happen is that you're going to darken the color and you're going to change the effect. So if you're mindful of that, if you take the ash brown and then put deep brown in it, you're darkening it much more than what it would look like. So you don't want to stunt your client. But if you know and you've talked to your client about this and you gave them an idea of how the color would look like, then yes, you can mix these colors around. Otherwise, avoid it. Okay? Let me just go back to that slide that you guys need to do those. How long will the webinar be today? The webinar is supposed to end at 1:30. It was supposed to be an hour and a half. So it ends now. I'm just going through some things because we do have a contest. No worries, Melissa. Thank you so much. Yes, you can watch later. Makes sense. Okay, everybody's good. Is this aftercare card available for download? Yes, it is. It's going to come to you in your thank you email. Okay, so thank you. Does the oxidant dye last longer than the intense browns? The oxidant dye can also wear out faster if the client doesn't do proper home care routine, or if they're a swimmer, or if it's a summer season. But it does tend to last a little bit longer because of it penetrating into the hair structure and sealing. Okay, I appreciate you guys as well. Okay, we're almost done. We have 3 more slides. I went 5 minutes overboard. I was so proud of myself that I reached the timing correct, but I didn't. Okay, so we still want to provide you with educational support. So visit our website, reflectisoleducation.com. We have online courses of our brow lamination and intense browns. So if you want to complete a certification course and get a CU credit, if you're in the US, if you're in Canada, there's no CU credits, but you do get a certificate. You can complete our courses. If you would like to get 50% off of these courses and pay $50 less, then reach out to me in the email education@CBN Group, and I will provide for you a coupon code that you can utilize to receive 50% off of your certification courses, whether it's brow lamination or intense browns. You can use it on both. Okay. Thank you for the tips. It gave me a lot of insight as to what went wrong when I first learned how to apply it. I have a lot more confidence now to use it. I appreciate that. That's what I want to hear. Let me get your name, Brittany. That's really what I want to hear from everybody. And if you still have issues, you know to reach us at Education@CBN Group, and even through the Instagram. I troubleshoot. I send voice notes. Okay, you're very welcome, guys. I'm so glad. I'm really glad this. There's a reason why I didn't want to cancel this webinar, because I knew how important it would be to all of you guys. So I'm glad. And we had a really good attendee, today. So we reached a good mass of you guys to help you. Now, if you want to register for our next webinar, here's a QR code. You're welcome. You're welcome, Bill. You're welcome, everybody. Dana. So we have a webinar on oxidative tints. Some of you have asked, will you have a webinar on oxidative tints? And I'm not just going to talk about just the plain simple way of using oxidant tints. I'm also going to talk about how to custom color and how to use the bleaching paste. So the bleaching place, if you're really scared to use it, please, please, please come to this webinar. I will ease your mind. I just did a beautiful, I have to get back to my posting on my Instagram, but I just did a beautiful tinting on my mom who has the coarse gray wiry hair, and nothing you do with oxidative tint will cover that unless you pre-soften it. And I want to teach you guys all that. Thank you. Thank you so much. What is it, Katerina? Karina? Thank you so much. Okay, so here you can do this. And then I have one more slide. What did we say? Chrissy, this is my second webinar with you, and I loved your education from that. Was so excited to see that you were giving us tips on intense browns. You are officially my best brown, my brown bestie now. Oh, I appreciate that, Maria. Thank you. That it brings joy to my heart. So thank you so much. And like I said, keep me in your community. Keep us together. I want to hear from you guys more. I want to share your work, and I want to know that you guys are it's a summer season. You guys are going bomb with these brow services. Okay. So the final thing I want to share with you guys, and I know you guys got to go. I kept you way too long. You guys got customers, is the contest. So if you want to win this cute little thing, so cute. If you want to win our essentials kit, thank you so much, Naomi. Follow us on our 2 IG accounts. These are the steps. Follow us on our 2 IG accounts. Upload in stories or in your feeds a story of or a picture of the webinar. That's why I said before, take pictures if you can. And then tag 2 Browistas and comment why, not way, comment why you liked the webinar today. So do that. You will be entered into a contest. And just before the next webinar, I will announce the winners. But it's a great way to keep our community going. So follow those 2 steps. Take a screenshot if you need to. If you need me to go back into the other screenshot with the QR codes of our Instagrams, let me know. Thank you so much for your thank you, Renee, for everybody's wonderful comments. Sorry, I think my suppressants are fading out, so I'm all drippy now. I'm so sorry. Where can I get Intense Browns Essential Kit? Because my distributor. Okay, so was it Janet? Please email me at education@cbarongroup.com. Please email me here, and I will help you. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, everybody, so much for your time. I'm so happy to hear that everybody loved this webinar. It was truly one I really needed to do with all of you guys. So share those tips with any of your other fellow Browistas, all the schools that were on here, all the educators that were on here. I hope that this gives you that confidence to even teach it within your school and so forth. But I appreciate the love. Thank you so much for the greetings and helping me feel better. And I will see you guys on the next webinar. Farewell. Ciao. Goodbye. Thank you, everybody.